What's up? Welcome to Johnny Taco's Rock Talk. Man, I'm excited. I got my buddy Chris here from Hard Look. We're going to talk about some new music he's pushing through from the Hard Look. You're going to take a hard look at the hard metal, and you can see a little bit of Slaughter to Prevail in that mix. So I'm pretty excited. He also wore his shirt, which is not as cool as my Crimson Ghost, which is if you look at it, it's the mascot for Misfits.
That's right.
Where they got the Misfits from.
That's
Uh,
right. It's a cool shirt, man.
I went to a horror convention and I saw nobody ever has my size. Let's just be honest. I'm a big guy. Nobody has my size. I bumped into this one place and they had a lot of retro movies. The Thing, Road Warrior, um, Camp. Was it
Creep
SWAT?
show.
No, not
Oh,
Creep Show. Camp Sleepaway Camp. The one with that. Um, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek version of Friday the 13th. It was back in
oh,
the 80s. You know, in the 80s, they had all those cringy kind of gore fest kind of movies. So I was looking through all those and I saw this shirt and I was like, man, I remember the Crimson Ghost was the the mascot for Misfits back when Danzig really when he started, that was part of that was who he liked. He liked watching that old black and white show about the Crimson Ghost, and to me, he kind of looks like a messed up Skeletor.
yeah, Skeletor, but with like the Misfits skull as the face.
Yeah,
That's some cool lore, like that you actually you know all that stuff. 'Cause I know that stuff too. I was obsessed with Misfits growing up as a teenager. They're, to this day, my top favorite of all time punk bands. Like
yeah.
super legendary guys.
I want your school.
Dude, I played that at my high school talent show with a couple guys. I was doing guitar and vocals. I had a buddy of mine on bass and a buddy of mine on guitar, and we took it to our little high school talent show and we played Skulls. It was cool.
Did you have the deadlocks?
No, I did at some point in my life. I actually grew out the devil lock, but at that time, no, I didn't. I just had a regular old punky kind of spiked up haircut. But I did grow a devil lock once, and it was super goofy, and I got rid of it. But I had to do it because I was so obsessed.
You know, and it's really cool because they didn't really take themselves too seriously if you think about it. Even when what was it, Johnny Only? Is it
Jerry only, yeah.
Jerry Only? I'm thinking Johnny because hey, I was in there. I was in the misses, but yeah, Jerry when Jerry is around and he's like these super buff guys and they're talking about horror movies and like horror kind of thing and I was a big horror movie kind of person and it just a mixture. It was just fun, you know, the punk idea of it mixed in, which will come
Yeah.
to our top five. We were going to do 10, but it's top five. We're starting this month off awesome. You know, later on in this show, you'll get to meet Kai. Kai from Florida. He's got his own solo project called XX Kai XX or Kai or Skies or so. Well, he goes just say Kai, just say Kai. Now, really cool dude, young guy. Well, everybody's young to me. I'll be almost the big 50 coming up soon. So I'm getting ready for all that senior discounts. I worked hard to be a senior. I didn't think I was going to make it past 30. So, you know, I worked hard. I amazed myself and others by living this long. So, you know,
You earned it, bud.
and then we'll talk about your new music coming up
Cool.
and how you had grabbed some of the aspects of a couple other bands that uh kind of let it upgrade your sound. Even though your vocals, man, are brutal.
Thank
man.
you.
But you're always upgrading it. You're always doing something. You're making it sound like it's easy, dude. Like to refine your voice and go out there and spit it. To me, I'm like, man, you got so much in your head with all these lyrics, and you're a one man band. I could see you about 80 years old playing hardcore with a one man band out there, getting a little tip jar.
That's the
With a,
dream. That's the dream, my friend. I want to do
but you have to add a harmonica. I don't think
that.
any hardcore band has a harmonica.
Hey, that's cool. I like that. Get it nice and creative, and then have the drums all over, like strapped to you. So
Yeah,
like when you move each leg, like different pieces of the drums play, like full
yeah.
blown actual one man live band.
And it reminded me back when I was a kid, there was a one man band that used to sit outside of a famous Tex-Mex restaurant, fast food place called Don Juan's in Grand Prairie. And he would sit out there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And he would have this big contraption and he would sit on, and it had the cymbals everywhere, the tom toms, the bass, everything was all there where he can hit it, and he had the harmonica like kind of like
Like
saw.
around the neck.
But it looked
Yeah.
like a saw device. I didn't know saw back then, but now coming to think about it, it looked like that one that girl had that was like to her
Iconic, yeah.
jaw. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would play he would play like old country music, and it sounded like a full band. It was really cool. Unfortunately, he passed away
Mm.
years ago, but it's
That's
just
impressive.
and that's goals, right? That's
Oh yeah,
squad goals.
for sure. For
So
sure. Feel
but
young.
yeah, yeah, and music's always been a big part of your life. So, and
Always.
you have so many projects out there that you do. You got some upcoming projects that are on the hush hush top secret.
That's
Uh,
right. That's right.
and you just come out and you had that ripped up, right? Ripped up.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it was kind of a hardcore punk kind of surf kind of thing. Are you still working on that too?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm slowly working on some songs for that. I've even got a bunch of video material that's going to accompany a new single that I'm going to debut here relatively soon, we'll just say. But definitely adding more of the reggae elements in with the punk rock and shying away from the screaming vocals and just kind of leaning more into like more punk vocals, for lack of a better term, but just really trying to blend the like melodic, but also heavy punk side of things with reggae. I just love how that comes together, and there's very few who do it. You may know of like the Bad Brains. Bad Brains used to do it. They had like whole albums that were hardcore punk, and then they'd also had albums that had a lot of reggae songs on them, and they had their own thing going with that. And I always thought that was cool. And then Expendables, they have like some rock riffs, metal riffs, but then they bring it back to the reggae. And I've always just loved that. And I wanted to do something kind of similar that I had not seen existed yet. And that was the whole thrust behind doing Ripped Up, because I think it's probably the album that I have a different way of life. The newest one that's out now. I would say that is probably the only album that has uh, a strong reggae sound, but also with like screaming hardcore vocals like mixed into it. It's really weird. So check it out if you're into weird music.
And punk really goes well with that kind of two-tone kind of reggae beat to it. And I've always liked the Mad Caddies, Mustard Plug, um, Rancid, just to speak a couple of bands out there, Goldfinger.
Yeah,
Um,
like the ska elements,
yeah, the
they
ska
go
feeling.
real well with reggae for sure.
And it just it's fun. It's kind of a fun thing. They still have like Mustard Plug has some heavy hardcore punk, but then they have that reggae too to it.
Oh, cool. I'll have to
Uh,
check that out.
Yeah, Mad Caddies does that too. They have Drinking for 11, which was like a just a reggae kind of beat, kind of feel, and then they go into a more hardcore kind of screaming in their next song. So you get kind of a mixture of genres in one album, and that's what you're kind of wanting to do, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely something that's different. It's a little hybrid, you know. It's something that I thought would be cool, and I've literally liked reggae since I was just a toddler. Like just hearing it, and I always gravitated toward it. And always listened to it here and there throughout my life. But the primary music that has fueled the soundtrack of my life since childhood to now is primarily metal, and that's where I really have most of my focus. But it is super nice to have an outlet to kind of express the other side. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely. And you know, there are metal bands that are from Jamaica that brings that skull to metal. There's Skindred. If you ever have a chance, listen to Skindred. I heard them back when I went to a concert to go see um, Supercell when they were around. They were like a one hit wonder. Unfortunately, the lead singer died of cancer a little bit after that album was made, but Seether was there. Seether was the headliner, so it was Supercell, Crossfade, and then it went to Skindred, and then
calm down,
yeah, and
my dog.
Skindred had a electronic box set, so it was like he would hit this little electronic drum set and just hit like play.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but then when he's talking, you can't really hear when he does his screaming because it has that Jamaican accent to it. It was just crazy. It was crazy. But he was jumping around, and I really liked that album. Which, if I
Yeah.
had if we had time to do a top 20, that their first album would have been in that mix.
Oh, cool.
So. But let's do it. Speaking of the top albums of all time, we five, cinco for our Japanese speaking friends. Um, yeah, we did a lot of head scratching over the week when we talked about doing this episode, and it was hard.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about you, but it was hard for me to pick out five albums that that really resonated with me that I can listen to from the first song to the last song. And uh, I feel like I can't really do that too much with a lot of the modern music to really listen to the first song to the last song. Um, I think maybe some of Falling in Reverse, um, but Bring Me the Horizon, their first album, I can listen to it from the front and back, and maybe their third album. I can't remember the name of the third album, but music that just resonates to us that we just got our full attention from the first song to the last song, and then you just want to just play it over again.
Dude,
You know what I'm
for
saying?
I do, and I'm also tripping that you chose that as an example because I don't think I've told you this yet, but on that first Bring Me the Horizon album is called Count Your Blessings, and Ollie Sykes actually thanked me in the liner notes of the CD booklet by my MySpace name at the time. And because at the time when they only had like a couple songs up on MySpace, I was promoting them from the very beginning. And I actually helped them get a bit of a base in the United States that they didn't have at first. So they were always really appreciative of that. And Ollie put my MySpace name in the thank yous, which at the time was Chris Has a Death Wish. Super cringe, but it was MySpace. So give me a break. But yeah, and they put me on the guest list for their very first US tour. I got to go to a couple shows, hang out on the bus with them, and like all that stuff. It was super cool. But then, like, what happens with being friends with famous people, or people who become famous rather, is sometimes there's a drift and you don't really talk to them anymore. And that's kind of what happened. There was nothing particular that happened. They just kind of got huge and ended up doing their thing. And I was just a dude at that point. But I was so thankful to have that cool experience with them, and to have my name, my MySpace name, immortalized in that album.
And it happens, they just like their tone, like when they first started in the first album to what they're doing now, when they're more of a clean vocalist kind of feel, which I'm not mad at them. You always want to define your stuff, and you want to have something that resonates with more people, because yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of secular music, they want to have money,
Yeah, sure.
and good for them that they got recognized by the legendary Christopher Johnson.
You're too much. You're too much. But it's, yeah, no, they've softened their sound a lot, but it's still good. It's real poppy, and like I truly believe they're just doing what they want to do, because ever since talking with those guys way back then, they all listened to like a lot softer music regularly. It wasn't just metal. So I truly believe they're doing what they want to do, which is cool. Some people are like, "Oh, they're selling out," and I'm like, "Well, is it really? If you're doing what you're wanting to do, I mean, if they're doing this new approach just for the money that might be selling up. I don't think they are, but not to go too much on that. But I appreciate it, because I like their discography from the beginning, mostly through all this new stuff too. I find songs here and there that I really like, not so much like full albums, but I can respect it, dude. It's cool.
Yeah, and to me, some of the new songs, I think they just put some songs in there as filler, not really thoughtful. But
Yeah,
you if you're a part of a record label, and you have to have a quota, so you're gonna have to put songs that are, maybe it's not the flavor that you want, but you had to put at least what 10 songs in an album. So you just
yeah.
throw in, or you could be lazy and just do a couple of instrumentals to put
Yeah,
it through. Yeah, you know,
man.
Metallica did that with Call of Cthulhu,
Yeah.
and
There's a couple others too. I think "To Live Is to Die" they had on, and "Justice for All." That was like a 10-minute instrumental. They had what was that other one? Can't think of it. But yeah, they've done it a few times. They're good at it though. I wouldn't call that necessarily lazy, because some of those guitar riffs and solos that are in those songs are pretty tech. But it's definitely not typical to have, I guess, these days anymore, to have like full blown long instrumental songs. I haven't seen that very often, I would say, recently. I know that was bigger back in the 80s and 90s.
yeah, and some part of the 2000, like
Oh
like
yeah.
the first part of the 2000. But now, we people have like attention spans of a flea. So
Hmm.
if you're not getting right into the vocals or to the music, you're taking like 5 minutes, like progressive rock take like 5 minutes, like Dream Theater, Pull Me Under, and you're playing it for like just getting it right to the music. Even though I love that song, Pull Me Under. um
Oh yeah, I love that band. I listen to Dream Theater and play their song. I'll try to play their songs on guitar very often. I love that band too.
I don't know how you can. That's a very technical. He's a very technical guitarist. I forgot
Oh
his
yeah,
name. Do you know?
John Petrucci.
Yeah, there we go. Petrucci, which is similar to John. Uh, Pet, crap. Never mind. I, I
Okay.
had I had an ADD moment. I forgot to take my meds.
Well,
That's
I'll
all
tell
my
you. You
fault.
said you said you don't know how I can, and I'll tell you how I can. I attempt it because I use a program called Rocksmith, where you plug in your actual guitar to an interface through your computer, and it's kind of set up like Guitar Hero, except you're actually having to play the actual notes, and it'll tell you if you're doing it right or wrong. It'll give you your percentage of accuracy, and it has the notes on screen as it's coming, so you can just read the notes as they're happening and try to play them. And I've got some of their songs in the 90% range, and I think most of them are probably around 80%. But just because some of those parts are like impossible, like finger blistering parts, but they're really fun to attempt. And in attempting things that are too hard for you, you grow as a musician. And I found that trying to play really difficult stuff has only made me a better musician myself.
Yeah, because they're kind of in the vein with like Dragon Force. If people don't know who Dream Theater is, they're very guitar oriented, just like Dragon Force, and very fast at times. But they do have a melodic feel to it, which I'm always very fond of. I love
Yeah.
the way you can make a guitar feel like it's the lead singer.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but we got to get to the meat and potatoes of this. We got to get to our top five. What we'll do is we'll start with you on your first one, and then we'll go and why you like it and why you think others would like it.
Yeah, yeah. All
And
right. Well,
then I'll go into one of mine, and then we'll go to our number one, which I hate. I don't want to say is our number one favorite. It's just it's in that percentage, you know.
right. Yeah, these are in no particular order, but I'll kind of try to fashion them kind of ascend in a way. But to start with, I guess what would be my number five? I'm gonna have to go with the album. It's called Jester Race by In Flames, and I want to say that is my favorite solely because of the guitar riffs. Every single song on that album is just riff city with very creative and melodic riffs. They find a way to take a very heavy style of like almost death metal, but making it really melodic through the guitar work. And that is just another album that I really love to try and play my guitar along with. And it's that aspect of melody with something heavy like extreme metal that is just a perfect recipe, if you ask me. I think that's why other people might like it.
So it's like if black metal and death metal had a baby.
Kind of, yeah. In
Yeah,
a way, in a way, yeah.
a deranged baby. Okay. Well, mine is not as heavy. My first one. My first one is from a band called Raw, and the reason why I chose this one is that the lead singer is half Egyptian, half Puerto Rican, and he got really into the whole Egyptian mythos, and the whole album felt like that because he would play a lot of the Egyptian kind of instruments in the background. His guitars did. It felt very very Egyptian. That's the word of the day, Egyptian. And uh, one of my favorite songs is "Do You Call My Name," which it had it was the only song that came on the radio station. Um, none of their other songs and other albums ever really hit the Texas market um, on the radio station. I'm not saying it hadn't hit anywhere else, but back in the day, I was only in a shell of the DFW area, like the Eagle, and the Eagle played that song. But there's so many great songs on there. There's heavy music, then there's heartfelt music, and then there's a somber kind of ending to it, which which really brings that album together. Nice.
Oh, awesome, dude. I'm gonna have to check that one out because I haven't actually heard of that before. So that'll be
And they're
something new for me to check out.
they're opening for Red this year. They're coming to town in June. I got tickets, and just like when you said that bring the horizon, you had talked to them. I had talked
Yeah.
to Sayaj a couple of times because he's also a record producer. He produced um, Downset. They did a song for that song I Came to Play for Randy Orton.
Hmm.
They did a song for Randy Orton. So
Oh, wow.
he's a very talented person in the music industry, and it was awesome to talk to him a couple times because I really respect him and his music.
Yeah, man, for sure. That's cool. Yeah, you want to go to the next one, the number four?
Number four.
Number four. So for the number four that I have would be an album called The Sound of Perseverance by a band called Death. And the reasoning for that one is, they're the legendary band that basically started the entire genre of what we know as death metal. But again, going back to the guitar work, I very much consider myself a guitar player primarily. It's always what I've started with before I branched out into other instruments and stuff. But when you listen, you could listen to the drums are as technical as can be. The bass is all over the place, and in a good way. It's not just following the guitar player, but the guitar singer Chuck Schuldiner is just the way he would write those songs was so amazing to me, and it was just those riffs and the solos and his ability to do vocals at the same time. It just was so impressive to me, and I like how on that album there's different parts that get very instrumental and he backs away from the vocals, and they just do these really cool technical back and forth riffs, and it's just it's something to behold, and it's something I found myself listening to ever since I discovered them in high school to this day, and playing their songs on guitar very often. So they're always spinning.
Yeah, and it kind of Death kind of opened it up to me for bands like Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel. I really loved Morbid Angel, Technophobia. I don't know if you ever heard of Technophobia. They bring a death metal aspect to industrial music. So if you ever get a chance to really want to go deeper into the death metal scene, try Technophobia. It is,
Oh, okay.
it is, man, you wouldn't believe how they can mix those two together. And it just comes out just awesome. So,
Dude,
uh,
thanks, Johnny. You're giving me some new stuff to check out that I'd never even thought to look for. So this is already working out great.
and you know what? I love music. I've music's always been a big part of me. You know, it was always like a crutch. Not a crutch, but like a shoulder to lean on. Especially when you're trying to find that right lyric or that right song that just kind of mimics how you're feeling. Or something
Right.
you want, hey, I'm having a bad day. I want to hear something that just melt my face off and just make me forget about the day. Or something, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend in high school and I wanted to hear something. So I put on Cure. And
Right.
because I have a big fondness for Robert Smith and his uh, his lyrics, and as well as the music, and how people mistaked him for being goth, and he didn't want to be goth. He was just a pop band that wore black lipstick and wore everything black. So they kind of just pushed him into it. But he says we're not a goth band.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man. Uh, Speaking of new music, well, it's not new music. It's a band that um, I really enjoyed in the 2000s. Uh, when I went through my first divorce, I was going through some issues. I moved to Florida, and somebody gave me an album called 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage, and the band is called Cold. And Scooter just has a way of bringing emotions to life through the words of the songs. And it was hard for me to pick an album because Year of the Spider was awesome. Different Kind of Pain was great. Super Fiction. A lot of these albums um, was a like a bridge to me to the new metal scene. They arrived around the Limp Biscuits and the Corn and Stain, which uh, doing a segue from Stain, Aaron Lewis played a couple of songs on this album. This was their second album, the sophomore album, but it was during a time he was fighting with alcohol and drugs, and you can really, it was kind of going the way of Stain, Langley, of Alice in Chains, Lane Staley.
Mm.
He was going that way, but then when he wrote a different kind of pain after this album because here's a quick story, and this is what really makes me love the guy more. Uh, he was walking down the beach. He's from Daytona Beach. He was walking down the beach, and this guy can pull out music by observing everything. But he was in a drug induced kind of temperament. He had a gun in his hand, and he was going to end his life. I can't say the S word, you know. He was
Yeah.
going to end his life, and when he looked at the waves crashing, and he threw the gun into the ocean, which is not good. If you don't throw weapons and all that in the ocean, there are children that play in the ocean. Do not do that. Give them to the police or sell them on eBay. I don't know, but a different kind of pain arise from it, and the song "Feel It in Your Heart" came in, and when he played it last year, I saw him in concert at the Curtain Club. When he played that whole album, and it was weird because I knew all the songs, and then he played 13 Ways to Bleed on stage, and man, I just I couldn't contain myself from it was just an amazing because I took the chance to get that album from that guy. I forgot his name. It's been years, and was able to listen to it back and forth, even through all the crap that I went through. Uh, Scooter's there. And matter of fact, Scooter is coming to Dallas May 9th. I got VIP tickets. I get to finally meet Scooter face to face, get autograph and take pictures. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited. But yeah,
Cool.
you get a chance. Anybody get a chance? Please check out Cold. You're not going to be disappointed. His music actually retains through the years, so it's nothing like I was on the payphone or something like that. No, it's heartfelt. It's really it gets you to the core. So I give you a two thumbs up.
Nice. Yeah, I love good emotional albums too because like when especially like as you mentioned you're going through something horrible in your life. It's like catharsis to hear somebody else going through something horrible, but the sound is beautiful, you know, like it's cool to kind of go through the process with that. And you know, there's the vocalist of the Chariot and Norma Jean back in the day, Josh Scoggin. He said this line that really resonated with me, and it was "Music saved my life, and Jesus saved my soul." And I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, that is so true in my life as well. I mean, obviously, I'm saved by Christ, but the music has been something outside of that that has helped me through all the hard times as well. So it's really cool to have a good emotional album because it's such a release, and you know you listen and then you'll feel better. You know, people tell me, how do you listen to that angry, hateful music all the time and you're still a happy person? You're sitting here smiling and joking with me. And it's like because it's getting that negativity out. Like it's not putting see they think that it's putting negativity in my mind, but it's really taking it out because it's that catharsis where you recognize, you identify with it, but you're giving it a vehicle to go away. And I just find that so powerful with music. And it's probably something that these listeners are going to find in the albums that we talk about, that they might have that type of emotional connection. You could have an emotional connection with metal, death metal, and all that too, is just as well as rock. It's something a little bit lighter. I think that's really neat.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and I totally agree with you. And number three.
All
Three.
right, now number three. So my number three is an album called The Healing Process. It's from a band out of Canada called Despised Icon. And the real reason I chose this one is because it was the first time I had heard two of my favorite genres combined. And those two genres are death metal and hardcore. Hardcore coming from like the more hard style of punk rock music called hardcore punk. But they took some of those elements from hardcore punk and then blended it with death metal, which hadn't really been done at the time. Later on, it would be called deathcore as a genre name, but that didn't exist at the time. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, I did not think these two things could exist. And even culturally, like the death metal guys and the hardcore guys didn't hang out a whole lot. But nowadays, that's completely different. And I want to say half of that's because of what deathcore has done. And now there's so many other bands that fall under that. But another reason I really liked that one was because of the vocals. Now they have two vocalists. So one guy is doing like more of the mids and the other guy is doing like the low guttural stuff and some of the really, really high pitched highs. So they're really dynamic. But despite it being two vocalists with this album, The Healing Process, I warm up my vocals a lot to this album. And I try to match all of those ranges because I have a similar kind of mid and I have similar kind of guttural lows and stuff. I can kind of like contend. So I like to practice a lot with that album. But other than that, just simply enjoying listening to it. It's such a brilliant album all the way through. It's no skips. Every single song is an absolute banger. And it was just really cool for the first time to see these two genres combining. And now it's become like a really big popular thing. And I think that's pretty cool. It's
Yeah,
inspired me a lot in what I do with Hard Look.
yeah. You know, you got the hardcore going, but I kind of my next one is kind of melodic. It's Dear Agony from Breaking Benjamin. To me, all Ben, he has I, he he was going through depression on this album, and he kind of blends a lot of hidden Christian kind of feels to his music. And with this album, it just it kind of gives you on a ride. It came in 2009. It was before my divorce, and uh, after when the divorce came through, I needed something to listen to, and Ben's band Breaking Benjamin came through with that album, and then they had other albums that came out after that, uh, which kept getting better and better. But my favorite is it will always be this album for that sake, and I just love the screaming in the back by the the guitarist. The name eludes me. Aaron Fink. Aaron Fink. And you can
Oh,
hear him screaming. And then both of the lead vocals is Ben and Mark. No, Mark is the screamer. It's Ben and Aaron. They do the vote. That's why if it sounds a little different, it's either Aaron or Ben. And I saw them in concert twice, and I really enjoyed it. They put on a great show, but that Dear Agony is really one of my favorites. All right, we are number four.
or if we're going the other way, we're number two. So I think we're going five, four, three, two, right? So we'd be
Sure.
on number two.
Number two, number two, number two. Dose, dose.
Dose. All right. So this is now we're getting into like legendary album territory here. But my number two, I got to give it to Metallica on this one. Give respect where respect is due. The album Ride the Lightning, another
Oh
just
yeah.
solid, no skips, beginning to end, absolute banger of an album. It has all of like it still has a lot of the old style feel like from their first record, Kill 'Em All, but it also started to bring in this new sound and it was starting to change and get more melodic in certain ways. It wasn't just like rip your face off thrash the whole time. They opened up the instrumentation for the first time a bit. It's some of Cliff Burton's best work on the bass. And obviously, I mean, I play bass too for my project and some other stuff that I've worked on. And man, Cliff Burton is probably the number one inspiration there.
Yeah.
And the vocal style was cool because it was, you know, like the first time was super thrashy, but he started to do some singing, some really legitimate singing in that, and he really took off with that. James Hetfield did, and he got to a point where, you know, he could primarily just sing instead of screaming, and it ended up working really well for them. But it is one of the steps along that evolution that was really special, and it has that like old school style, but where you can tell it's starting to move into something new. And that's just an I was obsessed with Metallica throughout like junior high, and of course in high school, still rocking them all the time. All the first songs that I learned how to play on when I got my first guitar, Metallica songs, or at least little pieces of them. And so they were instrumental in me becoming a musician, because at that time I thought these were the best musicians that I had ever heard. It was a very special moment, and it made me think, man, these guys are so cool, and what they're creating, what that sound they're creating, it just resonates with me so much, so deep in me. It's like I want to be that. I want to do that. And I picked up drums. I play, you know, I played percussion and like school band, and like got a little drum machine, and I really wanted to take off. But you know, when you're that young, you go through these little phases. So you ask your parents, "Oh, can I have this $2,000 drum kit?" It's like, no. Pick up something else, please. But uh, yeah, like Lars's drumming just inspired me. I know he's not considered one of the best, but at the time, like the stuff that he was doing was really, really cool. And obviously, you know, Kirk Hammett's just blazing through those guitar solos, which absolutely just blew my mind as a kid, and they still hold up because I'm still spinning that record today.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to match that energy because one of mine is the Black Album from Metallica, and that's when Jason Newsted actually felt comfortable being in that band. If you don't know who Jason Newsted is, um, he was the bassist for Fate's Warning, and then when Cliff unfortunately passed away, um, they 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 tried hard just to try to find somebody to fill Cliff's shoes. And don't get me wrong, Trejo,
Trujillo,
Trujillo,
yeah,
is awesome. He's awesome, but I still love the way Jason Newsted played, because he gave me my first panic attack sitting in the back of my brother's car with 215s in the back, and they're playing was it Of Wolf and Man,
of Wolf and Man. Yep.
and that album we just listened to the whole time driving, you know, Enter the Sandman, The Unforgiven, you know, Nothing Else Matters. These songs were a stable for radio play. And back in 91, 92, I was like 14 years old, and I was just a kid that used to like uh MC Hammer, Paulo Abdul, you know, kind of poppy stuff. And then my brother got me into this, and then my number one, I'll tell you before it shows, number one kind of walks hand in hand with this, and my because they were my first albums as a kid, and I really, really enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, man, you can't replace Cliff, and I didn't expect them to, but they came close with Jason.
Yeah. And
You
that
know,
album was so special too with Jason because they had him on the previous album, and Justice for All. But a big complaint amongst many listeners even today is that the bass is relatively low in the mix. Some even say inaudible. So yeah, I could see him having some trouble feeling comfortable in that band, listening to that master and just being like, dude, I'm not even in this band. So you could really hear the bass guitar perfectly well on that Black album, and he really shines through on it. And then I'm thinking about your experience with those subs to your back, just like
yeah,
booming that bass frequency at you. That's so cool.
yeah, and it was awesome. It was exciting. It was scary. It was everything because it was the first time I ever had I felt like a near death experience. Oh man, which comes to number one because we're getting close to number one. What is your number one pick? Well,
All
it's
right,
like
all
I
right,
said, it's not in any order, but
right.
number one.
Just number one on this list that I fashioned today. Not necessarily like the most well thought out one of all time necessarily, but I got to give this one to Megadeth with their album "So Far
Oh
So Good, So What." And that one was tough. I knew it was going to be Megadeth. Absolutely, they're going to be number one, even on the most thought out list. Pure, pure musicianship, just nailing the metal sound to a perfection, to a science. The guitar solos, the guitar riffs, the style of vocals, even as being as weird or unique as they are, it just fit. And that was my birth year album. It was a 1988 album. And my dad said he was listening to it in his Walkman, cassette players they had back in the day. And about the time that I was being born, and it turned out being one of my favorites. It's got a lot of those cool like thrashy elements from like the old school thrash bands, but you also get like the first like real, I guess you consider it like a ballad, but "In My Darkest Hours" like a ballad song. And speaking of Cliff Burton, yeah, Dave Mustaine wrote that song about the passing of Cliff Burton and how deeply that affected him. But oh yeah, that song itself is a beautiful song, and it's just it you start to see the band get really into a more melodic style of their musicianship, and while also not fully stepping away from like just the thrashiness of their first two records. And it's just something that, yeah, to this day, whenever I think, oh, I want to listen to some Megadeth, I'm throwing that on there. But I mean, there's obviously like close contenders to that because I mean, you still have like Rust in Peace, which is, and Countdown to Extinction, which most people who are Megadeth fans are probably going to tell you that's their number one. But like, yeah, man, the So Far So Good, So What? It just, there was something about the feel and like I love the original. I know Dave went back and like remastered it, but the original 1988 pressing of "So Far So Good, So What," even though it's not the most pristine sound quality that we're used to today, it captured something in that original master that I just thought it made me feel like I was like in the studio with them while they're jamming. It wasn't just super super high tip top sound production, and it kept it raw, which I think added to the energy of it, and that's what it's all about with metal's that energy. So, but what
Yeah,
what what was your number one?
my number one. But I just want to say, I
Sure.
want to touch on Megadeth because it was in my top 10 countdown to extinction. I love Megadeth. I love Dave. Dave is cool, man. Even I'm just so happy that they were made. Dave and James had made right, like later on in their life. They did that big four with Slayer and Anthrax, which Anthrax was one of my top tens too, Persistence of Time. And, there's a lot of honorable mentions. There's Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains.
Mm.
There was, uh, oh man, my mind just went blank because there's like so much throwing at me right now. Um, ah,
I probably have "Dirt" by Alice in
yeah,
Chains on my
there,
list too. I
yeah.
love them, dude.
It's just the pain of what happened to Lane Staley and what he went through and the dark turn and all that. There was
Mm-hmm.
just so much on there, anything from Journey, that was my breakup music was Journey, back when I was in high school. But what really brings my my number one, and the reason why it is because it was so me back then, was Lights Camera Revolution by Suicidal Tendencies. And I even
Yeah.
have the oops, wrong hand. I got the tattoo. ST.
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 Yep.
Yep. And because they 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 blended thrash with punk because originally Suicidal Tendency was supposed to be a pure punk, a pure punk album, which was what was it? Still Cycle after all these years, or Still Cycle. I think that was their first album. Mike Murr, which is the younger brother of the guy that started Dogtown, the Boys of Dogtown. Man, my mind just went blank. Ah, I hate that when that happens. Jim Murr, Jim Murr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and part of the Dogtown skateboard team in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles was a huge, huge punk scene back then. And then he also had the chulo kind of feel to it, where he had the bandanas. He had this huge bandana that he would wear on his belt, a blue one that go all the way down, has some fringes. I just thought it was really cool, the way he talked, and the video. What all I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, and it it was just it was something that just it brought me to life. Mike Murr still has that same energy. He branched off to Infectionist Grooves. Infectionist Grooves was like a funky punk kind of band. Him and uh, Mike Clark had that band going, but it was Mike Murr, Mike Clark, Rocky George, and I always wonder why Rocky George, he was the guitarist, and he was missing a finger. And there was like a bunch of rumors about how he missed. He said he woke up one day and the finger was gone. They just they were crazy, and uh, they were what ICP was in the 2000s, but in the 80s and 90s with their followings. So yeah, if you ever go to California, which I don't really suggest it, I'm not a big Californian fan, but you'll see a lot of the culture of what suicidal tendencies had brought to their, like, especially Venice Beach and all that. But yeah, that was my five. That was Chris's five. If um if y'all want to know more about the bands, I'll have it down at the description below. Uh, Check them out if you haven't had a chance to. Check them out. Find you a new band to enjoy. Give them props. Always support your local bands too. Give Hard Look a chance if you haven't had a chance to. Just go out there and enjoy metal, man. And right now we're about to roll out to the interview with Kai. It's going to be an awesome interview. Really cool dude. He sat down. He had a chance to sit down and talk to me, and it's just like in the veins of Hard Look. So man, we're just going to keep that metal train rolling. In three, two, one, we're out of here. Thank you, Chris. I forgot to
Thank
say
you,
thank
Johnny.
you. I forgot to say thank you. Thank you, Chris, for being on the show.
And thank you, Johnny. It was an absolute blast.
Awesome, dude. All right, let's stop the recording.